Hi everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Anna. Today I have a new story for you, called The Chess Club. It's about a man who gets thoroughly beaten by his 10-year-old nephew, and decides that simply cannot stand. As always, just relax and listen, and let's begin. Sam Whitfield was 36 years old, working as an insurance adjuster, living a fairly ordinary, comfortable life without any particularly demanding hobbies. His evenings typically involved television, occasional gym visits, and casual dinners with friends, nothing especially structured or intellectually demanding beyond his day job reviewing insurance claims. During a family gathering one Sunday afternoon, his 10-year-old nephew, Tyler, challenged him to a game of chess after dinner, having recently joined his elementary school's chess club and grown enthusiastic about the game. Tyler had been talking about chess constantly throughout the meal, excitedly describing tournament strategies and famous historical games he had learned about from his school coach, much to the amusement of the rest of the family. Sam, who hadn't played chess seriously since childhood, agreed casually, expecting an easy, relaxed game against a child. He vaguely remembered learning the basic rules from his own grandfather decades earlier, though he hadn't touched an actual chess board in probably 15 years. Instead, within about 15 moves, Tyler had completely dismantled Sam's position, delivering checkmate with a confident, almost apologetic smile. "Good game, Uncle Sam," Tyler said politely, though clearly pleased with himself. The rest of the family laughed good-naturedly at Sam's obvious defeat, his brother-in-law particularly amused watching a grown adult get thoroughly outplayed by a 10-year-old. Sam laughed along, pretending it didn't bother him much, though privately, the loss nagged at him considerably more than he expected. "Want to play again?" Tyler asked eagerly. "Maybe next time," Sam said, somewhat embarrassed, deciding one humiliating defeat was sufficient for one evening. Driving home that night, Sam found himself thinking repeatedly about the game, mentally replaying several moves where he had clearly missed obvious, better options. He hadn't seriously considered chess in decades, viewing it vaguely as something intellectually intimidating, reserved for genuinely brilliant people rather than ordinary adults like himself. Yet something about losing so decisively to a child bothered him more than simple competitive pride. That evening, unable to sleep properly, Sam found himself searching online for local chess clubs, discovering a community chess club meeting weekly at the public library, welcoming players of all skill levels, including complete beginners. The following Tuesday evening, feeling somewhat self-conscious about his motivation, Sam attended his first chess club meeting. The room contained roughly 15 people of various ages, several boards already set up with games in progress, a general atmosphere of quiet, focused concentration filling the space. A few older members glanced up briefly as he entered, nodding politely before returning their attention to their own games, while two younger players near the window seemed locked in an intense, silent battle, barely acknowledging anyone else in the room. An older man with a neatly trimmed gray beard, wearing a well-worn cardigan, approached Sam as he stood somewhat awkwardly near the entrance, uncertain where exactly he was supposed to go or who he was supposed to speak with. "First time here?" the man asked kindly. "Yes," Sam admitted. "I'm honestly a complete beginner. My nephew beat me pretty badly last weekend, and I decided I needed to actually learn this properly." The man laughed warmly. "A classic motivation," he said. "I'm Harold. I've been running this club for almost 20 years. Would you like a quick introduction to the fundamentals before jumping into an actual game?" Sam gratefully accepted, and Harold spent nearly 30 minutes patiently explaining basic piece movements, fundamental opening principles, and general strategic concepts Sam had either forgotten completely or never properly understood during his brief childhood exposure to the game. "Chess rewards patience and careful thinking," Harold explained. "Many beginners rush their moves, reacting rather than planning ahead. That's usually the first habit worth breaking. Harold had a particular teaching philosophy he mentioned frequently throughout Sam's early weeks at the club, encouraging new players to think through consequences several moves ahead before committing to any single decision. He often used simple analogies from everyday life, comparing chess strategy to planning a road trip, where a good driver considers not just the next turn but the entire route ahead, anticipating potential obstacles before they actually appeared. Most people your age come here wanting immediate results, Harold told Sam during one of their early conversations. Chess doesn't really work that way. It rewards the people who stick around long enough to actually absorb the lessons, win or lose. After this brief introduction, Harold arranged for Sam to play against another relatively new member, a friendly woman named Diane, who had joined the club only 2 months earlier herself and still considered herself very much a beginner. Their game proceeded slowly, both players carefully considering each move, occasionally consulting Harold when genuinely uncertain about proper strategy. Sam lost this game too, though considerably less quickly than his humiliating defeat against Tyler, and he found himself surprisingly engaged throughout, genuinely curious about the strategic reasoning behind Diane's winning moves. "You picked things up pretty quickly for someone who just started," Diane told him afterward, genuinely encouraging. "It took me considerably longer to understand basic opening strategy when I first started." Sam left that first meeting feeling unexpectedly enthusiastic, already looking forward to the following week's session, a feeling that surprised him considerably given his initial embarrassment about even attending. Over the following weeks, Sam attended the chess club religiously, supplementing his weekly sessions with online chess tutorials and practice games during evenings at home. He purchased a beginner's chess strategy book, reading through it carefully, studying classic opening sequences and fundamental tactical patterns that experienced players used consistently. Despite his dedicated study, Sam's actual playing results remained frustratingly inconsistent during his first month. He would occasionally play a genuinely strong game, only to follow it immediately with a careless, embarrassing mistake during his very next match, seemingly forgetting basic principles he had confidently understood just days earlier. During his 5th week, Sam experienced a particularly frustrating evening, losing 3 consecutive games rapidly, each time falling for tactical traps he recognized immediately afterward but somehow failed to anticipate during the actual game. His first opponent that evening caught him with a simple but effective fork, attacking 2 pieces simultaneously with a single knight move Sam simply hadn't considered. His second game ended even faster, Sam accidentally leaving his queen exposed to an obvious attack he only noticed after his opponent had already captured it. "I feel like I'm not actually improving at all," Sam admitted to Harold after his 3rd consecutive loss that evening, genuine frustration evident in his voice, running his hands through his hair in visible exasperation. Harold sat down across from him, examining the final position of Sam's most recent game thoughtfully. "You're improving considerably faster than you realize," Harold said. "Look at this position specifically. 2 months ago, you wouldn't have recognized this particular trap at all. Tonight, you recognized it immediately after falling into it. That recognition itself represents genuine progress, even though it doesn't feel satisfying in the moment." This reframing helped Sam considerably, understanding that meaningful improvement often felt frustratingly invisible in the short term, only becoming clearly apparent when comparing his current understanding against his considerably more limited knowledge from just weeks earlier. He decided to stay another hour that evening, playing 2 additional practice games with Harold's guidance, determined not to end the night feeling completely defeated. Around the 3rd month, Sam began forming genuine friendships within the chess club community. He regularly played practice games with Diane, both of them progressing steadily together, celebrating each other's improved understanding and occasionally commiserating over particularly frustrating defeats. They started meeting slightly early before official club hours, giving themselves extra time for practice games and casual conversation about their respective weeks. Diane worked as a graphic designer and had joined the club initially for reasons similar to Sam's, feeling that her evenings had become somewhat aimless after ending a long relationship the previous year. "I needed something that would actually occupy my brain properly," she admitted during one of their early conversations. Chess turned out to be exactly that. Sam found himself genuinely looking forward to these weekly sessions with Diane, appreciating having someone at a roughly similar skill level to practice against regularly, someone who understood exactly the particular frustrations and small victories that came with genuinely learning chess as an adult beginner. He also became friendly with a teenager named Marcus, one of the club's stronger players despite being barely 16 years old, who patiently offered Sam detailed feedback after their practice games, pointing out specific tactical opportunities Sam had overlooked. Marcus had been playing competitively since he was 7 years old, coached initially by his own father, and had accumulated an impressive collection of tournament trophies despite his young age. Sam initially felt slightly self-conscious accepting detailed coaching advice from someone so much younger than himself, but Marcus's genuine enthusiasm for teaching quickly put him at ease. Marcus seemed to genuinely enjoy breaking down complicated positions into understandable pieces, walking Sam through his own thought process during particularly instructive moments in their practice games. "You're getting much better at recognizing when your pieces are actually protected," Marcus told him during one particularly encouraging session. "That was honestly your biggest weakness when you first started." Sam appreciated Marcus's patient mentorship considerably, finding it somewhat humbling but genuinely valuable receiving detailed strategic advice from someone barely half his age, yet significantly more skilled at the game. He often joked with Diane afterward that his primary chess coach had recently gotten his driver's license. By the 4th month, Sam's understanding of fundamental chess strategy had developed considerably. He no longer lost games through obvious, careless tactical mistakes, instead facing genuine strategic challenges against increasingly skilled opponents within the club, losses that felt considerably more instructive than his earlier, more elementary defeats. During this period, Harold mentioned an upcoming local chess tournament, a casual, community event open to players of all skill levels, organized specifically to encourage newer players to experience competitive chess in a low-pressure, welcoming environment. Sam felt immediate hesitation about this suggestion, still viewing himself as far too inexperienced for anything resembling formal competition. "I don't think I'm ready for an actual tournament," Sam said uncertainly. "Nobody ever feels completely ready for their first tournament," Harold reassured him. "This particular event specifically welcomes beginners. Consider it valuable experience rather than pressure to perform perfectly." Encouraged partly by Diane's own decision to participate, and partly by his own growing curiosity about how his skills genuinely compared against unfamiliar opponents outside his regular club environment, Sam decided to register for the tournament, scheduled 2 months later. These final 2 months before the tournament involved considerably more intensive practice than Sam's earlier, more casual approach to learning. He played practice games almost daily, studied specific opening strategies more systematically, and began analyzing his own previous games carefully, identifying recurring patterns in his mistakes that he specifically wanted to address before the tournament. He created a small notebook specifically for tracking common mistakes, reviewing it before bed most evenings, quizzing himself on tactical patterns using an app Marcus had recommended. His colleagues at the insurance office began noticing his distraction during slower afternoons, occasionally catching him analyzing chess positions on his phone during lunch breaks instead of scrolling through the usual social media. "You've become genuinely serious about this," Diane observed one evening, watching Sam meticulously reviewing notes from a previous practice game, several pages already filled with his careful, handwritten analysis. "I don't want to embarrass myself completely," Sam admitted, laughing slightly at his own intensity. "Though I suspect I'll lose most of my games regardless." "Probably," Diane said honestly, laughing along with him. "But we'll lose together, at least." The week before the tournament, Sam experienced genuine nervousness, questioning repeatedly whether he had adequately prepared, mentally reviewing opening sequences during quiet moments throughout his workday, occasionally losing focus during important meetings while unconsciously visualizing chess positions instead. Tournament day arrived on a cold Saturday morning, held in a large community center room filled with numerous chess boards arranged in neat rows, players of remarkably varied ages and skill levels quietly settling into their assigned seats. Sam felt his nervousness intensify considerably walking into this formal, considerably more serious atmosphere compared to his usual relaxed weekly club meetings, the room's hushed silence and rows of concentrating players feeling considerably more intimidating than his familiar library meeting room. He spotted Diane near the registration table, her own nervousness evident despite her attempt at a confident smile. Harold had also arrived, not competing himself but attending specifically to support his students, offering both Sam and Diane a brief, encouraging pep talk before the first round began. "Whatever happens today," Harold told them both, "remember you're both playing chess seriously for the first time in your lives. That alone deserves recognition, regardless of your final results." His first opponent was an elderly man who introduced himself simply as Walter, offering Sam a friendly, reassuring smile before their game began. Despite his nervousness, Sam managed to play a genuinely solid opening, applying strategies he had specifically practiced during recent weeks, though he ultimately lost after a lengthy, closely contested middle game where a single tactical oversight proved decisive. "Good game," Walter told him afterward, genuinely complimentary. "You clearly know what you're doing." "That was closer than the final result suggests." Sam's second match proved even more challenging, facing a considerably younger opponent, a serious college student named Alex who played with confident, aggressive strategy that Sam struggled to counter effectively. Alex moved quickly and decisively, rarely pausing to think, applying constant pressure that left Sam feeling perpetually on the defensive throughout their entire encounter. Despite his best efforts to remain calm and methodical, Sam found himself making a costly error midway through the game, losing a key pawn that Alex expertly exploited over the following moves, resulting in another loss, though again, considerably more competitive than his early chess club defeats months earlier. "You held on longer than most people manage against that opening," Alex told him afterward, somewhat surprisingly generous given his decisive victory. "Just needed a bit more patience in the middle game." Sam nodded, appreciating the feedback despite his disappointment, mentally filing away the lesson for future reference exactly as Harold had taught him to do after every game, win or lose. Entering his third and final match of the day, Sam felt genuinely exhausted, both mentally and emotionally, having already experienced two challenging defeats. His final opponent, a woman roughly his own age named Rebecca, seemed similarly tired, having also lost her previous two matches that day. "Well, at least we're evenly matched in disappointment so far today," Rebecca joked as they set up their pieces, immediately easing some of Sam's remaining tension. This particular game unfolded very differently from Sam's previous two matches. Applying lessons learned from his earlier defeats that same day, Sam played more patiently, more carefully, avoiding the specific tactical mistakes that had cost him his previous games. The game remained closely balanced for over an hour, both players cautiously maneuvering, searching for genuine advantages, neither willing to take unnecessary risks after their earlier disappointing results. Around the 60-minute mark, Sam noticed Rebecca hesitating slightly longer than usual over a particular move, and he began sensing a genuine opportunity developing on the board. Eventually, recognizing a subtle tactical opportunity Marcus had specifically taught him during their practice sessions weeks earlier, Sam executed a careful combination of moves that gradually gained him a decisive material advantage, capturing Rebecca's rook while maintaining strong control over the center of the board. Rebecca, recognizing her increasingly difficult position, studied the board carefully for several long minutes before eventually resigning gracefully after nearly 90 minutes of intense concentration. "Nice game," Rebecca said, extending her hand genuinely. "That combination near the end was really well executed." Sam felt an overwhelming rush of genuine pride and disbelief, his first tournament victory, achieved after 2 difficult defeats, feeling considerably sweeter than he anticipated any single chess victory possibly could. He sat quietly for a moment after Rebecca left the table, simply staring at the final board position, mentally replaying the winning sequence to make sure he would remember it properly. Walking out of the tournament that afternoon, having finished with 1 win and 2 losses, a genuinely respectable result for his very first competitive tournament, Sam felt something unexpected, complete satisfaction, regardless of his overall modest record. Diane, who had similarly won 1 game and lost 2 others, met him outside, both of them comparing their tournament experiences enthusiastically. "That felt incredible," Sam admitted. "Even losing felt genuinely educational rather than embarrassing." "I know exactly what you mean," Diane agreed. "I think we're both properly hooked now." That evening, calling his sister to share details about his surprising tournament experience, Sam mentioned casually that he owed his newfound passion entirely to Tyler's decisive childhood victory months earlier. "Tell Tyler I finally won an actual chess game today," Sam said, laughing. "Against an actual adult, admittedly, not against him specifically. I'm still not ready for that particular rematch." His sister laughed loudly. "He'll be thrilled to hear that, though I suspect he'll still insist on a rematch himself eventually." Over the following months, Sam continued attending the chess club regularly, his skills steadily developing through continued practice, friendly competition, and patient mentorship from more experienced players like Harold and Marcus. He participated in 2 additional tournaments that year, gradually improving his overall competitive results with each subsequent event. Eventually, nearly a year after his humbling defeat against Tyler, Sam felt genuinely ready for their long-anticipated rematch. During another family gathering, Tyler eagerly challenged him again, clearly expecting another easy, quick victory similar to their previous game, setting up the board with the same confident enthusiasm he had shown a year earlier. The rest of the family, remembering Sam's decisive earlier defeat, gathered around somewhat amused, clearly expecting another quick, entertaining loss for comedic value. Sam's brother-in-law even jokingly offered to start timing the match, remembering how brief their previous encounter had been. This time, the match proceeded considerably differently. Sam played carefully, applying everything he had learned throughout his year of dedicated practice, and though Tyler had also continued improving through his own school chess club, their game remained closely contested for nearly 40 minutes, considerably longer than their previous 15-move encounter. The watching family members, initially expecting quick entertainment, grew increasingly quiet and attentive as the game's genuine competitiveness became apparent. Ultimately, Sam achieved a hard-fought victory, checkmating his nephew through a careful, patient endgame strategy. Tyler, initially disappointed, quickly recovered his enthusiasm, genuinely impressed by his uncle's dramatic improvement. "You got really good," Tyler said, examining the final position with obvious respect. "What happened?" "You happened," Sam told him, smiling. "You beat me so badly last year, I couldn't just let that stand." Reflecting occasionally on his unexpected chess journey, Sam often thought back to that initially embarrassing family defeat, understanding now how significantly that single, humbling moment had unexpectedly introduced him to a genuinely fulfilling new community, meaningful friendships, and an ongoing intellectual challenge he continued enjoying considerably more than he ever anticipated when he first walked nervously into that library meeting room. He kept the score sheet from his very first tournament victory against Rebecca folded carefully in his wallet, a small, slightly worn reminder of exactly how far his wounded pride had eventually carried him. And that's the end of today's story, The Chess Club. I really love this story because it shows something meaningful. Sometimes our most embarrassing moments end up leading us toward genuinely rewarding new pursuits, if we're willing to let a little wounded pride motivate positive change instead of simple avoidance. Before you go, think about this: has losing at something, or feeling embarrassed about a skill you lacked, ever motivated you to genuinely improve? Thank you so much for listening today. This has been Anna, and this is the podcast. See you in the next episode. Take care, and keep practicing your English.